Hi, welcome to this broadcast. Let us turn to the scriptures and look at Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 to 23. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. If we turn to Acts chapter 2, let us read from verse 16. But this is what was spoken by the prophet Joel. And it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out of my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. And on my maidservants and on my maidservants I will pour out my spirit in those days. And they shall prophesy, and I shall show wonders in heaven above, and signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the coming of the great and notable day of the Lord. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. Here we see the context of what's happening today with the tetrad of blood moons. And we're definitely in the time of the latter rain, of the outpouring of His Spirit, the time of the last great revival, which I've brought to your attention for many years in this ministry. And it's going to be really a time of the manifestation of the Spirit of God. And we'll see much of prophesying in your name, in casting out demons in His name, and many signs and wonders will be done in His name during this time. But let us turn back to Matthew chapter 5 and just have a look at this, because there's a warning here that Jesus warns us that there will be those, and in fact He says many will say to me in that day, that there will be many that will be doing signs and wonders, and they'll be very much doing things like this. They will be prophesying and moving in the power of God. And there's a danger that there will be many that He'll say to them that I never knew you. How is this possible? How can this be? I've seen something very disturbing in the body of Christ over the last 20, 30 years. And I believe that this is what Jesus was speaking of. That there's something very, very wrong in the church, something that's missing. And there's a foundation, a historic foundation, a classical foundation, which has largely been discarded by the charismatic, the Pentecostal church. And today we no longer understand the truth that was revealed to saints a few hundred years ago. We don't understand the historic foundation, the classical foundation. And many who are even in these churches, the historic churches, do not have really a grasp of this foundation. And there's truth. There was a focus more on the relationship with Jesus Christ, with knowing Him, and with an inner walk with God, a true walk with Him, which is very different from what's coming forth today. And the Sermon on the Mount has always been the focus of the historic church. People such as John Wesley, they preach mainly from the Sermon on the Mount. 70-80% of their sermons came from these passages. And there's there's truth here which has been lost to the church. And that truth is very, very important. It's about knowing Jesus Christ, and it really needs to be our foundation. Remember, God has been restoring the church since the time of the Reformation. That means you've got to keep the old things, the things that have been revealed a few hundred years ago. You've got to keep that and then add on to it. You can't just discard the old. It's a restoration. That's what it means to be restored. He's restoring truth to the church. And that's what's happened in the Pentecostal charismatic move that I've noticed in the last, or it's actually happened right even from the beginning. They've discarded, they don't have this foundation. And it comes forth in everything that people, with the way they speak, in everything, the doctrine, in everything that comes forth, that this foundation is not there. And there's a tremendous danger, and it's got to do with the falling away, with deception in the last days. It's got to do with all that, because if you don't have this foundation, you will move into deception, and you will be in danger of falling away. And that is why it's so important to respond to what Jesus said to the Laodiceans. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. It's a call in Revelation 3:20 to come to know Jesus Christ, to come out of it, to come to know Him. And this call is more than just, it's actually a foundation that needs to be in your life. You need this foundation that I speak of, and then you'll escape from Laodicea. And I see this tremendous danger that there is, especially in the time ahead, when there's going to be a tremendous outpouring of His Spirit. And many people in the Pentecostal charismatic movement are also moving with this. And most of them do not have this foundation that I speak of. They don't have a historic foundation. They don't have really a sound relationship with Jesus Christ. And they don't understand this. And that is what I'm bringing forth. And a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm going to bring more and more with this. Is the importance of having a sound relationship, and to escape this, to be one day to be with Jesus Christ when He comes at the rapture, to be ready for Him, not to be one who's left behind. And we need to look at this very carefully. It's very, very important. Consider these things. Apostle Derek signing out.